Howdy folks, I hope you all had a good weekend. Welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. Although I say I hope you've had a good weekend, I suspect for a lot of us, pretty much every day has been like the weekend for a while now. This is probably going to be a bit of a quickie of an episode of Mingles with Jingles because I'm feeling kind of tired and under the weather. Don't worry, I'm sure it's nothing serious. I haven't been out of the house in 3 weeks, so the chances that I've contracted anything nasty are fairly slim. But I did leave the house today for the first time in 3 weeks. We're starting to run a little low on certain things, so decided it was time to go to the supermarket. And boy, was that a surreal experience. First of all, the roads were empty, and not just because it's Sunday. The police here in the UK have been granted powers to, well, the police here in the UK have always had the power to pull you over for any reason whatsoever. But if you don't have an essential workers permit, the police are going to want to know what you're doing on the streets and why you're not at home. And if you don't have a good reason, and I need to go to the supermarket is a good reason, they can fine you up to £960. And they also take down your registration number. That's license plate for those of you in America. And if they catch you out on the streets again on the same day, they'll fine you up to £960. And apparently the police have had to use these powers because they've been forced to break up barbecues where people have invited all their friends and neighbours around. And people having house parties and inviting all of their friends and neighbours around. Police in Cornwall aren't just pulling people over to check, whether they're on non-essential business. They're also checking the boots, or, if you're in America, trunks of the cars to find out whether or not people are going to the seaside. That's just... I've seen reports that police are using drones to check on people walking their dogs. I'm not sure how long you're supposed to be able to walk your dog for before the police decide that's it, you're taking the piss, and slap you with a remote fine. Oh, by the way, this fine of up to £960 for a first offence, it's a £60 fine, although they halve it down to £30 if you pay within 14 days. But for every repeat offence, the fine doubles. So if you're out driving and you get pulled over by the police and they say, what are you doing? And you say, I just felt like going for a drive. They fine you £60. They catch you again later that day, they fine you £120. They catch you the next day and you still don't have a good excuse, £240, and so on, until eventually you're getting fined £960. If at that point you still haven't learned your lesson, they can take you to the magistrate's court, where a magistrate can impose unlimited fines. I've also just seen the news that anybody deliberately coughing in the faces of paramedics and emergency services personnel who is found to be infected with the coronavirus can go to jail for 2 years. The head of the Crown Prosecution Service has ruled that this constitutes common assault, which is punishable by imprisonment of up to 2 years. This ruling was made as a result of a 45-year-old East Londoner who goes by the name of Darren Rafferty, who admitted 3 counts of assaulting an emergency worker after claiming to have coronavirus and deliberately coughing at officers arresting him for grievous bodily harm. Another man, 40-year-old David Mott from Blackburn, was sentenced to 26 weeks in prison after threatening to spit at police officers while they asked him why he was outdoors with 2 others on Monday night. Personally, I think calling this common assault is letting these fuckers off lightly. It should be attempted murder, but hey, what do I know? I don't know if any of this sounds excessive to you. I mean, it doesn't to me, but apparently it does sound excessive to some people, despite the fact that 7% of British people are still going out regularly to see their friends, and 8% are regularly doing non-essential shopping. The director of the British Civil Liberties Group, Big Brother Watch, was quoted as saying, let me see if I can find it, over-the-top policing will not help the country to fight this pandemic. Really? You think so? Because asking everybody to be nice and just hoping that they're not going to be complete idiots has been working so well so far, hasn't it? No, I think over-the-top policing is definitely going to help this country fight the pandemic. Although, it's still only 7% of the population who are still going out to see their friends, and 8% who are doing non-essential shopping. I mean, those are low numbers. When you're faced with, a threat of this nature, those numbers are still higher than they should be. The head of the British Medical Services was on television over the weekend saying that under the current circumstances, Britain's going to be lucky if it gets away with as little as 20,000 deaths. I'm not even sure our National Health Service could deal with the number of infected that would cause 20,000 deaths. But hey, I guess we're going to see. At the same time, though, I realise that the shocking news stories are the ones that grab all the headlines, the stories of people just being utter idiots and the doom and gloom about the figures and the statistics. But, well, based on what I saw today, people seem to be handling things remarkably sensibly. Eddie and I drove to the supermarket. The roads were quiet. We got there. The car park wasn't full. There weren't that many people queuing up outside, and people were queuing up patiently, calmly, staying 2 meters away from everybody else. There was disinfectant available if you wanted to sanitize your hands while you were there, before and after using the shopping trolleys. Nobody was panic buying. There was plenty of stock on the shelves. Actually, while we're on the subject of panic buying, I've read some reports recently that people who work at waste disposal and treatment centres have been seeing large amounts of food being thrown away. Because apparently all of the stupids who were out panic buying and stripping the supermarkets bare a week ago and 2 weeks ago were all buying the wrong stuff. They were buying perishables. 15 loaves of bread, cold meats, things like that. If you're going to stock up for an emergency, frozen food is good, but frozen food is only good for as long as you have power, and then it very quickly becomes rotten food. What you should be stocking up on is tinned food, because tinned food lasts forever. But no, these idiots were all going out and buying enough fresh pasta to feed a family of 4 every day for 2 weeks. But fresh pasta's only good for 4 days. So they've had to throw it all away. Fucking idiots. Well, by and large, that kind of just rank stupidity doesn't really seem to be happening anymore. People tend to have worked it all out of their system. They've calmed themselves down and they're just getting used to the way things are. I'll tell you something else I noticed this weekend, and it did kind of take me by surprise, although thinking about it in retrospect it probably shouldn't. But I don't know how many of you out there have subscriptions to premium video streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or any of the free ones that I talked about in last week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I suspect most people probably do these days. So Saturday night, I cooked dinner, and Rita and I are plonking ourselves down on the beanbag in front of the TV, ready to watch something as we eat our meal. And that's when I noticed that you could buy the new Bloodshot movie, the Vin Diesel movie. Now, I've been a big fan of the Bloodshot comics for a long time. And when I heard the news that they were making a movie, I got cautiously excited. Not too excited because, I've been burned before when I hear news that something I'm a big fan of is getting a movie treatment. Well, a while ago, I can't remember exactly when, but the last time I went to the cinema, they were running the trailer for the Bloodshot movie, starring Vin Diesel. And it didn't look too bad. But again, cautiously excited because I've been suckered in by a good-looking trailer before. Yes, Phantom Menace, I'm looking at you. So I thought, okay, that's one to look out for when they eventually release it. And then, of course, the whole coronavirus thing hit, and going to the movies was the least of my concerns, and I pretty much forgot about it. Until we're sitting in front of the TV Saturday night, looking for something to watch, and I saw that Bloodshot was available to buy on the PlayStation Store. But it hasn't been out at the movies yet. No, it hasn't, and it probably should have occurred to me, but it wasn't until Saturday night when I put 2 and 2 together. Nobody's going to the movies. So all of the big movie studios, they're releasing all of their movies direct to video and direct to streaming services. Bloodshot, Birds of Prey, Call of the Wild, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, The Invisible Man. All of these movies and many more already available on streaming services. And lots more on the way. I suppose this is kind of inevitable, even if I didn't see it coming. I mean, these movies cost a lot of money to make, and nobody really wants to go and see them in the cinema, packed shoulder to shoulder with a whole bunch of other people. So the studios have got to try to make their money back somehow, and releasing these movies well ahead of schedule is one way of doing it. It's good news for us, though. Well, it's good news in the short term, because, well, the consequence of all the studios releasing everything now, well ahead of schedule, and of course the fact that nobody's actually making movies at the moment, means that when this is all over and the dust settles and people want to go out and celebrate, there's going to be fuck all to watch at the cinema. Although in the grand scheme of things, this is definitely, a very small concern. This is the very definition of a first world problem. Anyway, I'm going to knock this episode on the head soon. There's just one other thing that I wanted to mention before we go. You might recall that last week I did a big old World Warships giveaway. $250 worth of ships. The USS Georgia, Tier 9 American battleship, the Jean Bart, Tier 9 French battleship, the Friesland, Tier 9 Dutch destroyer, and as a booby prize, the Tier 4 Soviet cruiser. Sorry, not Tier 4. It should be Tier 4, but it's Tier 5. That's one of the reasons why it's so crap. The Krasny Krim. Not everybody's replied. I've picked the winners, but I'm still waiting for the winner of the Krasny Krim to respond to the email. Although if I'd won a Krasny Krim, I probably wouldn't bother responding to the email either. I had to give away the Jean Bart twice because the first person who won still hasn't responded to the email. I'm waiting until I have the in-game names and servers of all 4 of the winners. So I guess what I'm saying here is check your emails and check your spam and trash folders as well, just in case it got filtered out and slipped through the holes. Because I'd really like to give these ships away, so you've all got something, well, not all of you, but 4 of you at least have got something nice and, well, okay, 3 of you have something nice and shiny to play World of Warships with, and 1 of you has a Krasny Krim. So check those emails and check your spam folders, because I really want to give these things away sooner rather than later. Anyway, that's it for today. We're still okay here. I hope you guys are as well. I'm going to call it here, get some food down my neck and get to bed because I am really tired. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, even if it is slightly shorter than you may be used to. And I hope you all continue to stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you next time.